make sense? Would it not make sense, to put it that way, to have an independent set of eyeballs have a look at what McGonigal knows about what took place in that office at that time, while he is in this helpful position of being subject to sentencing?
Well, Senator, I appreciate you raising the topic. So a couple things. First, our counterintelligence division, of course, are the people who identified McGonigal's wrongdoing, pursued it, arrested it, and are very focused on trying to determine.
Welcome into the live stream, everybody. Bear with me.
What, if anything, he might have impacted through his misconduct. That's one. Second, there are, I think, 2 U.S. Attorney's offices involved, both New York, Southern District of New York, and I think the District of Columbia as well. So 2 cases that are pre-sentencing, and that his cooperation, if you will, could be potentially relevant to. And we are, I can tell you, I want to be a little bit careful how far I can go on this, but I will tell you, we have involved the Inspector General as well. Because we, like you, want to make sure we understand the full scope of what Mr. McGonigal did and what he knows.
So the DOJ Inspector General is involved. It has been notified.
It has been
engaged.
Engaged.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to hear. Now let's go back to 702 for a moment. I understand that 702, which was originally designed sort of for a counterterrorism purpose, has also been deployed against the international fentanyl trafficking apparatus. Is that correct? And has 702 been important in combating the international fentanyl trafficking apparatus?
702 has been important in the fight against the scourge of fentanyl. More so, I would say, by our intelligence community partners. The CIA, for example, in their work overseas to pursue some of the foreign dimensions of the fentanyl crisis, which of course then have massive ramifications for communities all over the United States.
So that's a success of 702.
It is a success of 702.
You also mentioned the role of 702 in reaching out to victims of.
I want you guys to see this. This is Christopher Wray testifying right now under oath. So I hope he doesn't lie, because he did lie the last few times, and he should be expelled from his position. The only person that can do that is the president, and the FBI can come in or leave just as quick as they came in. With an executive order. That's how they started, was with an executive order. And if I was a president, I would tell the FBI straight up, you would get the lead out of your guys' asses and do your job correctly, properly and correctly. Christopher Wray, we should, if they don't, like, I would tell them, get the lead out of your asses, or you guys are gone, or I'm gonna take your money away, defund all your money, because you guys are, the FBI is getting paid for raiding people's houses, especially out of all, they raided President Donald J. Trump's home, which that should expel anyone, everyone that was involved that day in the raid of President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. They should be held accountable. But let's watch this. This is very, 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 very important. Here comes Senator Grassley.
That the Richmond field office anti-Catholic memo was, quote, a product by one field office, end of quote. You testified before the House Judiciary Committee that the memo was, quote, a single product of a field office, end quote.
And this is live.
The Richmond memo says 2 other field offices of the FBI were involved and that information had been redacted in versions provided to the Congress. Why did the FBI redact that critical information? And second, did you review the unredacted version before giving your previous testimony?
So, Senator, I think that this notion that other field offices were involved is a garble. And let me
He's not
explain
even
why
answering the
I say that.
question.
The only involvement of the 2 other field offices was the Richmond authors of the product.
Senator Grass.
Included 2 sentences or something of thereabouts.
Senator Grassley asked him if he was involved in the redacted version. He didn't even answer that.
That's all the other offices had. So it was a single field office's product, and I stand by that.
Did you review the unredacted memo
Right here.
before giving your previous testimony?
I have reviewed the unredacted memo. Exactly when I reviewed it, I can't as I sit here right now, tell you.
Okay. In July of this year, I made public what's now known as the Biden family 1023 FBI document. I've also written you several letters about the same, mostly recently, I think October 24th. That letter of October, in part, that the confidential human source in the Biden family 1023 was to known sources of Russian information. That confidential human source is also readily a long-running FBI source that the FBI has used in many investigative matters. According to former Attorney General Bill Barr, Barr said that 1023 was deemed sufficiently credible for further investigation. On May 31st of this year, Chairman Comer and I had a call with you. On that call, you told us that the Biden family 23 is related to an ongoing investigative matter. Now, very clearly, these data points show indicators of credibility. This question for you, this FBI 1023 was serialized on June 30th, 2020, over 3 years ago. When were you first made aware of 1023?
Well, I don't know that I could give you the exact date, but I can tell you that that I learned of the 1023 much more recently than anything around 2020. That's for sure.
This is a public document. You have an obligation to tell this committee what you knew about it, when you knew about it, and if you can't give us that information, I guess I better go on. Are there additional FBI generated 1023s that reference a bribery scheme involving the Biden family? And if so, how many and what are their dates?
Well, Senator, now you're asking him questions
He's not
that
going to
relate
answer it.
directly to Special Counsel Weiss's ongoing investigation. And respectfully, I can't really discuss anything related to that investigation. I would refer you to him for that.
The 1023 references alleged text, financial records, and audio tapes that prove some sort of scheme involving money with Biden.
Let me know what you guys
people.
think.
These are discrete documents that can be obtained if they exist when a high-paid, long-used federal confidential human source provides the FBI with evidence that different types of records exist that prove a crime involving a political official. Then standard FBI practice is to take steps to obtain that evidence. Would you agree with that, what I've said so far about the FBI policy? And if not, why not?
Well, certainly I would expect people to do appropriate follow-up on anything in a 1023, but obviously every one of those instances is very fact-specific.
Sorry for being so blurry, guys.
Okay, that answer's okay. So then, based upon what you just told me, did the FBI seek these records in this matter?
Well, let me separate into two different things here. When it comes to the investigation being led by Special Counsel Weiss, which is being supported by our Baltimore field office, that one I'm not going to be able to discuss because it's an ongoing investigation. When it comes to the assessment that occurred in being run out of the office of our field office in Pittsburgh, and the U.S. Attorney, Mr. Brady, as selected by Attorney General Barr to look at all of this back in the earlier period you're talking about, my understanding is that there was agreement among the team about what steps needed to be taken, and with the closing of that assessment.
Have you communicated with White House officials or used a third party to do so about anything relating to the 1023 as it involves people in the Biden family? And if so, who and when?
No.
I want to go to sexual misconduct by the FBI. On October the 5th, 2022, I sent you a letter and later made FBI records public that showed widespread sexual misconduct in FBI against females. The data also showed that hundreds of FBI personnel retired to avoid discipline, and the senior high-level officials received reduced punishment, if any at all. On October the 6th, the FBI told the Associated Press that it intended to respond to me first and declined to provide sexual misconduct data to the press at that time. It's over 1 year later, and the FBI has failed to provide this data to me. The FBI's blatant lack of action indicates it isn't taking misconduct against women in the workplace seriously. Why has the FBI failed to provide that very important data to this committee? And when will it finally be produced, as you told the FBI told the Associated Press you were going to?
Well, first let me say I could not disagree more strongly that we don't take it seriously. I can tell you I take misconduct, sexual misconduct against our own employees extremely seriously, and we've put in place all sorts of new procedures and policies to deal with that and to communicate in no uncertain terms how strongly I feel about that. As to the responsiveness to your letter, let me follow up with my team and find out where that stands. But I do want to make sure that there's not any confusion, none, about how seriously I take this topic.
Okay, then where's the data, if that's what you're going to be willing to take it so seriously?
I will follow up with you.
No, that's not the answer.
Thank you,
Where
Senator
is it?
Grassley. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much, Director Ray, for being here. I want to start out with hate crimes. You and I have talked about them before. I know, thanked you and your agents in Minnesota for their work in solving what was a clear hate crime, with prison sentence of a bombing of Dar al-Farouk Islamic Center in my home state back in 2017. And we know that since that time, we've seen increases in hate crimes. Reports show a 216% increase since October 7 in
there's no such thing as a hate crime. It's just called people getting fucking butt hurt.
Another report showed a 388% rise in anti-Semitic incidents since this time
How
last
do they
year.
know what we're thinking?
We know the facts. We know what happened in front of that restaurant in Philadelphia. We know that in Illinois,
They don't.
a 6-year-old Muslim boy was targeted and fatally stabbed for being Palestinian American. In Los Angeles, a criminal broke into the home of a Jewish family, threatened them, and screamed about killing Jews. In Vermont, a Palestinian student from Brown University, whose parents had him stay in the U.S. rather than returning home for safety reasons, was shot along with 2 of his friends. In New York, a woman was assaulted at Grand Central Terminal, and when confronted, the assailant said it was because you are Jewish. In Brooklyn, a father and his 18-year-old son were allegedly assaulted by another parent for being Palestinian. And last week, 3 suspects were arrested for a 40-minute spree of attacks on on Jewish New Yorkers.
Just insane, man.
Concerning for everyone, Democrat, Republican, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, anyone in this country. I know that you care about this very much because I saw the work that your agents did in Minnesota. And I want to get more details on what the FBI is doing and what the Justice Department is doing to detect, deter, and investigate these crimes. And then also the effect of social media. And I know there are limitations on what we can do. I have some strong views on this. But could you also talk about that?
Well, I appreciate your longstanding interest in this topic, and I know how important it is to you, and not the least of which because of the attacks that have occurred in your home state. Certainly, we have seen an increase in hate crimes, and there are lots of different numbers out there, but I'll just give 2 for this purpose. One is in 2022, we saw the highest increase, I think, in hate crimes reported that we'd seen since maybe 2008. And we don't have full data for 2023 yet, but we expect it to keep going up. Second data point, post October 7th, just since October 7th, of opening, I think 60% more hate crimes investigations post October 7th than compared to the comparable period pre-October 7th. And that's on top of that already escalating increase that I mentioned. As I testified in my opening statement, the biggest chunk of those are threats against the Jewish community, but there are, of course, attacks, and you've mentioned several of them, against others as well. What are we doing about it? A few different things. We've elevated civil rights, especially hate crimes, to national threat priority, and that's been true for the last couple of years, and so that brings with it more investigative resources of all shapes and sizes. Second, we're trying to do a lot to engage in outreach, both to law enforcement and the communities, because the one thing we know about hate crimes is that they're chronically underreported. And there are lots of reasons for that. But so trying to get better data, better fidelity of the data allows us to track the trend better, but also to ensure that we're finding the cases that need to be pursued. Even when a hate crimes charge, a federal hate crimes charge, is not available, the FBI doesn't just walk away from the case. We provide forensic support, in some cases even testimony and other things in state prosecutions if state charges are being used. So those are a few of the things. In our outreach efforts, I would say we also have tried to do things that are targeted at specific communities. So for example, in New York, we tried to reach out to parts of the Jewish community in New York with outreach both in Yiddish and Hebrew, and not just in English, for example. So that's just a flavor.
Thank you. Wanted to turn to fentanyl. We all know that there's so much work that has to be done at the border, and so much work that has to be done in the ports of entry. Mail, a bill that Senator Portman and I passed a while back. But we also know that 1/3 of drug cases have direct ties to social media. And we had a kid in Minnesota who died after taking fentanyl-laced pill that he thought was Percocet to help his migraines, purchased on Snapchat. And the Judiciary Committee actually voted with the chairman's leadership to advance a bipartisan bill with Senator Shaheen and Marshall to require social media companies to report fentanyl and other dangerous drug sales on their platforms. It's called the Cooper-Davis Act. And could you talk about how this could be helpful in taking on these cases?
Well, I think what you've put your finger on is the degree to which online activity is inextricably intertwined with the fentanyl epidemic. And that's in a variety of ways. And I know Administrator Milgram at DEA, for example, has a number of initiatives focused on this as well. Certainly, we, on the FBI's end, are focused on, for example, darknet marketplaces, and we have a whole something called J-Code, which is focused on dismantling darknet marketplaces of fentanyl and other dangerous narcotics.
Okay, thank you. And one other
They're gonna be up
kids
there now.
issue, you
Seeing
noted the
she
importance
was
of protecting
correct
kids.
on part of the deep state.
You noted in your written testimony that the FBI has recently reported a massive increase in sextortion cases where kids and teens are being coerced into sending explicit photos and videos only to be blackmailed or threatened for financial gain. In 2022 alone, these scams resulted in at least 20 victims committing suicide. And my bill with Senator Cornyn, the SHIELD Act, includes a threat provision and other things that would update and modernize our laws when it comes to revenge porn and sextortion cases involving kids. While we are advancing this bill, sadly, we have been opposed by some members of this committee, and I found it incredible.
Come on, man! What the fuck?
They won't meet with me to try to make any changes to it, and I'm trying to change that. What threats do young people receive? How do you think we could make the tools that you have to take on this crime better? Because I'm going to just start going to the floor and taking this on. Our colleagues can object if they would like. And I know Senator Cornyn has been very helpful, but I think it's just absolutely ridiculous when you look at these numbers. Please answer. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Well, I can't speak.
I was just sharing the
legislative
screen.
proposals, but what I can tell you is that sextortion is a rapidly.
Oh, let's go with some other
threat.
music, other
And
news.
as you say, they're
But anyways, Christopher Wray, FBI Chief Chris Wray, U.S. Senate Committee hearing on FBI Director.
It was.
Let's see,
Over.
Mr. Bufume wants the 2.5 minutes. He can have it if he wants to yield some to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez when she goes. She can have it. We'll make it right. 2.5 minutes. You all have an extra 2.5 minutes. Chair recognizes Mr. Bufume for
point
5
of order.
minutes.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Take your point.
My understanding is that this committee was provided the suspicious activity reports on the condition that it not publicize them, for the reason that they are not actually even allegations, much less evidence of anything. And my colleague from Georgia has now just revealed it publicly.
That is a good point. However, that suspicious activity report has been public for years. That suspicious activity report was on the internet long before I became chairman of this committee. So that particular suspicious activity report has already been publicized.
Thank you for that clarification. She had said it was part of the thousands she reviewed, but I appreciate the clarification.
Public and able that we all reviewed in the Treasury.
Chair's reclaim time. Chair recognizes Mr. Bufume for 5 minutes, and if you want more time, we'll work with you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I am going to claim my 5 minutes and yield the 2.5 additional minutes that you have given me to my colleague from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. I'm glad somebody brought up the word suspicious activity, because that's just what's taking place in this room. Make no mistake about it. And I want to congratulate my colleagues from across the aisle for gathering us here today, almost distracting us from the biggest investigation that is going on right now in our country and in our nation's history, involving the former president and the front runner for the Republican nomination, who is currently facing a 37-count indictment this week, and maybe 2 weeks from now more, and maybe 2 weeks from then more. But we're spending our time talking about Hunter Biden, someone who is already pleaded guilty to not filing his taxes, having a
I don't
gun
like
charge,
this guy.
and now I hear also
I don't like this guy.
paying for prostitution. But let's just remember that there was a case in New York not too long ago where our former president also got into trouble regarding payments and regarding a stripper and was found guilty of a
He was not found
violation in civil
guilty.
court. Now, there seems to be a lot of hemming and hawing about.
He was not found guilty. That guy right there is lying right through his fucking teeth. He is not, Trump was not found guilty. They dropped the case because Hunter, or no, he dropped the case because, or they dropped the case because, that chick there that supposedly Trump paid the money to, the stripper, went and admitted that Trump never paid her. I think it was Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, I think his name is. I think he's the one that paid out of his own pocket, paid that stripper to be quiet. He's the one that did it. Trump never did nothing. Trump never committed or agreed to being guilty. He never agreed to nothing. You far left Democrats that all they want is just power. You far left Democrats are doing everything you can because you guys are scared. You guys know what's coming. And it's the better for people. It's the good. It's for the good for all of us. And the people that are sitting behind those Senate seats are destroying our world, our country, and especially that 90, 80 something year old man that sits behind the White House seat in the Oval Office. I think the White House was created by the Democrats. I really do. I don't think it's a legitimate house. Like, what I mean by that is President Trump, his home, Mar-a-Lago, he's dedicating that house to be the new White House. The true legitimate White House. Unlike the White House that we have today. I think Washington, D.C. might be where our country was founded. When the country first started. Could be wrong. But I believe D.C., Washington, D.C. is the devil's eye. I believe that's the devil's third eye. And what I mean by third eye is the devil can sit back and do nothing while he's having everybody else do work for him. And I wonder who that is. I wonder who that is, and his name starts with an O. Because every one of these people are corrupt. Everyone. Except for us and Trump. This was supposed to be a new world order, right? Now it's because God's coming. I believe God's already here. We just don't know it. I feel it. I truly feel that he is actually here. We just don't see him. But I believe that, or I see and believe that we're not the corrupt ones. I believe that Biden, something's going to happen to Biden. And they're going to try to keep him in there so he can be the nominee, Democratic nominee. I believe the white hats are in charge of everything, all social media, everything. And the white hats are us, pretty much. And Trump, the MAGA team, that's the white hats. And as long as we can keep spreading the news, the truth, and the facts about what's truly going on, we'll win. And that's indefinite. But Christopher Wray is still testifying right now as we speak. And I believe I can't listen to that. Look at that picture. Can't get any beautiful than that. See her right there? I have a feeling she's running for president. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about Melania Trump running for president and picking Tucker Carlson to be her VP? And then after that, Trump will run the following. Because that means that if Melania is running these next 4 years from 2024 to 2028, to 2028, then for her first term, that would make President Trump the first man. The first man. That would literally make him the first man. And then after Melania's done being president, Trump's going to become president for a second term in 2028. And then he's going to pick, I have a feeling he will pick General Flynn. General Michael Flynn. I think he's going to pick him to be his VP. And that would be awesome. And then those years after that, his children can run to be president. All of his children. You guys don't, do you guys really truly see what's coming? Like, the goodness that's coming? Like, I see so much goodness coming, and I'm just excited. I can't wait. Because if Melania becomes president, then Trump will become president after that. And then maybe Tucker Carlson will become president after that. And if not that, then Trump's kids will become president. And I have a feeling Baron Donald Trump will be the last to be president for the United States before. Oh, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just guessing what might happen. I'm the stuff that God's making me think of, or is telling me that I should be thinking of, is just amazing. And that's what I see. I see that's the path I see. Somewhere down the road, that's how it's going to work. It's just amazing. But I don't know. You guys are just fantastic. I appreciate everybody here. let's keep fighting for freedom. And let's keep fighting for freedom of speech and just win. We've been winning for the past while now. Let's keep on winning, guys. Let's keep on winning. Other than that, I love you guys. Stay safe. Thank you for being here. Remember, please subscribe to my channel. Please. Let's help this algorithm get up. If you guys want to subscribe, you can. If not, hit that like button for me. It really helps out the stream. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, please smash the like button and make sure that you share all these. All right, love you guys. Peace.